oui. Açık gideydi.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jerusalem. If you didn't believe me yesterday, that's the name of the gate right here. So, another sunrise in Jerusalem. So happy that you're joining us. It's going to be a very beautiful experience here. We're going into the Kidron Valley. By the way, I had left my sticks here, so I just picked them up. Here's Al-Aqsa Mosque. And the Dung Gate is only a couple of hundred yards from the western wall. But I covered that twice yesterday morning sunrise on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and also on Friday evening at length in the German language edition, but the pictures are all in English. And they're also simultaneously in Chinese. So we're going down into the Kidron Valley. We're coming from the Mount Zion direction, but it's not a good moment to show you that. And here, this is a very good spot to see these excavations. And this is the City of David excavations. So extraordinary history down here. As far as I know, the dig is going back 3,000 years, with a lot of stuff in between. This is all East Jerusalem here. And we're heading into the Kidron Valley, so I'm going to take you down deep. So this is just a barrier here. The tourists and pilgrims, when they're coming along, can peep into the excavations. So that's the Mount of Olives in front of us, and now on the very left up there in the hill of the Mount of Olives you can see the Russian Orthodox Church, and actually the small one right beside it is the Our Father Church. Let's take a little peep at it. There's a second tower, and from our angle they look like they're side by side, but actually there's quite a little walk between them. That's just perspective. They're lined up for us there. That's all the graveyard area there on the Mount of Olives. The walls of Jerusalem. And this goes down to the City of David. Sometime we must go down there and have a little tour around. But that'll be another time, God willing. All forms of transport are in use here. So this is a very precious area archaeologically to the left here. Maybe I'll cross the road and you can get a peep. since we're so close. So we're just to the south of the Temple Mount area, and this higher wall here is the back of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. You can see the dome already. And actually I haven't been in here for a few years, so I'd have to come back and get updated on all the archaeological development here, because a lot has been excavated and studied in the last 10 years here. So it's more than a couple of years, I think, since I was in here. Probably not since I went to Magdala, maybe even a while before that. So we're very close here now to some real archaeology. And at this moment I'm not sure exactly of the dating of these structures, if they're first century or if they're later, because Jerusalem was inhabited for a long time, and maybe somebody does know. If they have sufficiently verified knowledge, they can post it on a comment at this point. Here's an olive tree. It looks like people picked those olives. There's none left on the tree as far as I can see. Somebody praying here in the morning. He just did a little nod to us. That's more of our bougainvillea here. Here we have some more developed access to the archaeology. And there's a good explanation probably down there of the tower that was here. This is obviously a defensive structure. So for those of you who are joining us, we're in Jerusalem at sunrise, just in front of the burial area in the Mount of Olives. And this is the southeastern corner of the Temple Mount retaining wall and structure, right here beside Al-Aqsa Mosque. All this ancient archaeology here, or present day archaeology of ancient times. So let's cross over here, just look for the traffic. Okay, we're safe. Now there's a path here that's going to go downhill, and we're going to go into the Kidron Valley. Let's take a look at the Kidron Valley from here. So you can see how it gets. Let me give you a more bigger bird's eye view first. I'm working with a handheld tripod, so it's a little, and it's not a right now, it's just a hand carry. So here you can see a deep valley, and down the bottom you can see a road and cars. So we're pretty high up. That gives you an idea. See the cars down there. So we're going to actually go down to almost that level. And that's the hill over there. I mentioned it yesterday, where Solomon's wives had their temples to their gods in his time, according to the biblical account. And then this is the Kidron Valley down here. So we're going to get down over there, and I'll take you down. And today we have a big festivity. We remember All Saints. Human beings, more than an Olympic medal, more than a Nobel Prize, the absolute ultimate accomplishment of eternal beatitude, gifted by the Lord in His mercy and they were faithful in trials, in martyrdom. Actually, it's understood that from here, St. James was thrown from the temple to his death in the 40s. So he was the first apostle to be martyred. And the memorial of St. Stephen's martyrdom is actually just around the corner here, about 10 minutes walk. Maybe we'll get as far as that. Now we're looking down into the Kidron Valley and all the graves. And this is also appropriate that you're able to visit the graveyards in Jerusalem. Today, tomorrow, we remember all the deceased. Today we remember all the saints, and tomorrow all the deceased. Oh, this is also a good moment to see Mount Zion. So, before we go downhill, so that's the Dormition Church, which is a big marker of Mount Zion as a landmark. And then over here, just down from it, coming into view in a moment. Where are you? Oh yes, it's already in the center of the screen. Beside that, that's the convent actually of the priest there, I think, yes, or the monastery. And then this is the Church of Peter in Gallicanto, where we remember Jesus being denied by Peter 3 times while he was being tortured and questioned and held as a prisoner. Imagine human beings holding God as a prisoner. In a way, that's what we're all tempted to do, to lock God out, to lock God in. And the saints are the ones that opened up their hearts and let God be wild in their lives. So it's still rather quiet, and here we're going to go down the steps. It's quite a long series of steps with little balconies. So I'm not sure how much of the sunrise light we will see anymore, but here we go. So much history here. It's understood that David is actually buried over here on the eastern hill. That's what the biblical account says. The place of veneration is back up there at Mount Zion. It was built by the Crusaders because Jesus was the son of David, and that's where all the great mysteries of the Last Supper and the appearance of the resurrection, the gift of reconciliation, whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven, whose sins you retain, they are retained, in the context of Easter joy, shalom. And so the apostles were overwhelmed with the faculties they were receiving. And then the Pentecost. So much happens on Mount Zion. It became named as Mount Zion, especially because of the association of Jerusalem as Mount Zion in the Byzantine Christian era. And they have the memory of the Last Supper there. So then they built this cenotaph, which is a typical thing from that period here for major biblical figures. We have this lone kid coming up here, and I'm going to do a shot of Gethsemane for you. So there you have Gethsemane, Church of All Nations. Sabah al-Khair. Keep halak. And there we have the Hebrew University Tower. And now the Lutheran Tower is hidden by the Mount of Olives here. It would be just up there. And then here we have, where are we here? There we have the Russian Orthodox Mary Magdalene Church. And for the English people who are here, I think Prince Charles came here for the burial of the famous Russian lady. She was, I think, the sister of the Tsar. No, the wife of the Tsar's brother, who had been killed in a bomb attack attempt against his life. And she was an extraordinary woman. I'm sorry I can't recall her name right now. And so there's a strong English connection there also, the Russians obviously. It's a Russian Orthodox church dedicated to Mary Magdalene, the first witness of the resurrection. So here we're in the Kedron Valley. We're already down a little bit, not too much. I can't see the Temple Mount wall to show you the relationship, but we'll do that later. These are Second Temple period tombs, a little bit the style we see in Petra of architecture into the hillside. So they were obviously very powerful families, wealthy families that had this kind of activity here. And there are actually lots of graves down here as well, along the valley. So we thank God today for all the saints. And I've attached here to the description for this post a link to an extraordinary document that's only about 2.5 years old on how we understand holiness today. It's brilliant, it's inspiring, it's realistic, it's down to earth, it's amazing. It's called Rejoice and Exult. And the saints are not far from us, they are close to us. And they are around God's throne interceding for us. I really encourage you to read that document, and it's what we used yesterday, obviously with the scriptures, because it's all about the scriptures, this document, what it teaches us about sanctity, about holiness. And so we were meditating and reflecting on this yesterday. So I put in the link for you because I think it will be of great value, great reading for you today, to understand a little bit more what the saints are. You see, now we're down a bit here, and the temple, there you can see a corner of the temple wall. You see the last wall up there. I could have probably got a bit further back there, but we'll catch it from another angle. Yeah, in fact, I think I can see it already. So that would be the corner right up there underneath the tree here, that opening underneath these cypress trees in front of us, or pine trees. So that would be the peak of that's close to the pinnacle of the temple, the second temptation in the gospel accounts of Jesus' temptations. So he was tempted in the desert, but he was also tempted in the city, at the pinnacle of religious power and prestige. Temptation doesn't spare anyone anywhere. So this is called Absalom's monument, the son of David, who David ran up the Mount of Olives scared for his life, and it's called the Absalom's monument, although that was not its name centuries ago. It has gone through different names. I suppose it gets tired of names and needs a new name now and again. But when I was here the first time, my sister visited me in Jerusalem, and we were walking by here, she said it would be good here to always say a prayer for rebellious children. So that's what I always do when I pass by Absalom's monument. I'm just going to come down a little bit here so you can get closer to these tombs. And we all remember all of our deceased, my own parents, my grandparents. My grandmother died in the Great Flu, which was a pandemic in 1919. And my dad was only 2 years old. So these are ancient graves. Look at these old tombstones with Hebrew inscription. They're a little freshed up, I think. And these ones aren't freshed up, so maybe they're also illegible. So then let's go and see this one a little closer up as well, since it's such a feature here in the Mount of Olives. Look at this. So this valley has two names that are very well known biblically, and one obviously for us Christian community is known as the valley of the Kedron Valley. And it's a good chance that Jesus came from Mount Zion, from the Last Supper, down through here. I have read some authors who speculate that he came by the temple and might have come out a different gate over here, but there's a very good chance he came down through here and to Gethsemane, and we're going to go by Gethsemane in a few moments. Some cave-like structures here. This is a whole limestone region, and the rain over the millennia has created these caves. The rain and the limestone form in acid water, and it corrodes the limestone. So there you can see the temple mount wall all around the temple. This wall was redone by Suleiman less than 500 years ago. We were in the exact opposite corner of it when I commented that, I think it was yesterday. So this is Absalom's monument, and we pray for all rebellious children that there can be reconciliation with their parents. This is a new sign here. It says this is a burial cave from the Second Temple period, and it's interesting. It's called the cave of Jehoshaphat, and I'll explain that in a moment when we start walking in. So the facade of the cave features a relief of a gable, a triangle. Okay, I don't have the perspective to show you that now. Depicting the facade of the roof of a holy structure. The ornamental style is derived from the Hellenistic art that influenced Jewish burial architecture. So this is, we're talking about the Maccabean period, and later the Hasmonean period, before the Herods around that time. The complex contains several burial crypts of unidentified individuals. The name originates from the identification of this section of the Kedron Valley as the biblical Jehoshaphat Valley. So if you read the prophet Joel, you will see that in the valley of Jehoshaphat there's going to be the rising of the dead. So this was the valley of Jehoshaphat, and the dead would rise here. So that's why the burial, this is like prime burial real estate, so to say. There are actually Jewish people who have their remains brought from the US to be buried here. There's another look at the Absalom monument. Now we get more view of the wall of Jerusalem. Now there's something very interesting. The Jewish people are buried here to my right, and we get more perspective as we go up. And in here, the Christians are buried in the valley. And there's some work going on here apparently, I haven't seen for a while. And I remember in 2009, Pope Benedict celebrated Mass here with a number of thousand Christians when he visited Jerusalem 11 years ago. And then there are graves all along the wall of the city up here, and they're Muslim graves. So we have Muslims, Christians, and Jews buried in the same valley of Jehoshaphat. So these are all, this little ramp here will allow me to peep in here, actually to get in. Well, I didn't do that before. So look at these graves here, hundreds and hundreds of graves. So may the Lord grant them eternal rest, and may they be led into eternal glory forever. And the Jewish people say for the dead, may they be of blessed memory. And in English we say, may they rest in peace. So we have a great reverence and respect before the dead. And in German there's a beautiful expression, God hab ihr oder im selig. May God have this person blessed in happiness. And the Italians have a different expression, Dio labia nella gloria. May God have this person who has died in glory. So I like that expression very much. It communicates the fullness also of the eternal joy of the saints. Obviously, when we say may they rest in peace, the word peace has a fullness of biblical connotation of the ultimate peace, but not a peace of that there's nothing going on, but there's a fullness of life, a complete fulfillment of all of our deepest desires and hopes. So now we can look down into the graveyard here. Actually, let's get over a little bit more and then you can see what I was explaining to you. What do you see on the burial spots down here, on the graves? So you see crosses on the tombs. And then all along the eastern wall of the Temple Mount are the Muslim graves, all along there. And over here the Jewish graves. So that's interesting, you know, in death we will all meet together. And we trust in God's mercy. There's a marvelous story represented in the artwork inside this church that Mary Magdalene, because of her connections, probably with the Herodians, went to Rome and she demanded to meet the Emperor Tiberius, or got the audience, and she was with him, and there was a festive occasion, there was a meal going on, and Mary Magdalene was lodging a complaint against Pilate, Pontius Pilate. So she obviously explained the resurrection of Christ. And Tiberius said to her, I cannot believe that. It can't be true. Just like the egg in your hand is not red, it's white. Apparently she was holding an egg in her hand. And at that moment the egg turned red. So this is the Church of Gethsemane, the agony in the garden. And it's one of the wonderful places that the Franciscans have developed and look after, so that it's here for us pilgrims whenever we come. And you can see up on the top 2 deer drinking from the fountain of living water. When I'm lifted up, I will draw all to myself. And then we have the main center picture is Christ at Gethsemane praying in anguish. It's a mosaic. And we have the apostles sleepy on the left, and then over on the right we have Mary crouched over the dead body of her son. So it's telling us the account of the Passion, with a quotation from the letter to the Hebrews, with prayers and supplications he lifted up, crying with tears, and he was heard because of his piety, of his devotion. But that hearing didn't happen in the sense of removing the chalice from his lips. He drank it to the last drop, but the prayers were obviously responded in the strength he had and the glorious way that he forgave in the height of his passion. I'm not sure if you're able to hear well because there's a lot of traffic. I just hear myself basically. So there's a little archaeology going on down here also. And these are the gates for the Messiah to enter, the golden gates of Jerusalem. And here is the church remembering St. Stephen's martyrdom. Actually, yesterday we had the psalm was, "Athirst is my soul for the living God, and like a deer longing for running water, so my soul longs for you, O Lord." And inside these walls, there's a wonderful garden, orchard of olive trees. And they are very old. I really can't get in, but another time we'll see them in more detail. This very busy road here. There we are. So this is where we were yesterday with Kathleen at the church of the burial of Our Lady in Jerusalem. And there's a cave over to the right, and that's the cave where it's understood the apostles were gathered in prayer, and Jesus was a stone's throw away here in the Garden of Gethsemane, here at the foot of the Mount of Olives. Years ago I hiked along all this valley here a number of times, and the Christian graves extend quite a ways over here to in front of you. You hear the cock crowing? When I was coming by Peter and Gallicanto this morning, there were a bunch crowing. So here you can get another look at the Kedron Valley and the monument of Absalom that we came by. We can surely go inside the church of Mary Magdalene at some point, but not at this time of the morning. So, unless we make a special arrangement, which would not be impossible, Now under this traffic light here is a cave where the guy on his bicycle with the blue shirt is waiting for the traffic there. And right down there's a cave, and it's a cave-like structure actually because the road is built on top of the spot, and there's a chapel there, an ancient chapel, and this is where we remember the stoning of Stephen. So it's understood that this is where it happened in ancient tradition. And here's the entrance to the Orthodox Church. You can read it there. The Holy Monastery of St. Stephen. It's run by the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate. You're lucky to be doing this through the phone because you're not breathing in the fumes of all the traffic. This is also a monument in Hebrew, and I don't understand enough. This is part of their artistic monument here, and I have to admit my ignorance of the explanation. So this is going to be probably our closing moment here. I'm going to head up with Instagram up here towards the Lion's Gate in a few moments, and so we went over time this morning because this is kind of special real estate, you know, where see the Christian tombs here, burial places here, so all the way, this whole valley on the lower level, the Christians are buried all the way down. Meanwhile, the road is built across it, and then over here we have the Jewish burials and the Muslim burials up here. We'll see those a little better on the Instagram post in a few minutes. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're new to this Sunrise Stroll and Chat, we're in Galilee most all the time, but here these last 3 days we were in Jerusalem. So it was a delight to enjoy your company and your comments and your insights and suggestions, and we keep moving. May the Lord bless you and have you rejoice. There are a lot of beautiful things about the saint next door in that document that's attached here about characteristics of sanctity today. Really powerful, concrete, down-to-earth commentary. It's amazing. So I encourage you to read a little bit of that this Sunday and be inspired, because you're also called to be a saint, and you're given all the grace to become a saint. And with the saint, let's go marching in. God bless you.